Hello and welcome to the Cafe Nightly Show. I'm your host, the Goldsmith. It is the 9th of January, 2025. It happens to be a Thursday, and we've got one of the bigger announcements in a while. It's a structural change in the game. It is a gamification in the game, and it's one that's been done with a little bit of thought. It's been promised, that's been coming for a while, and the details aren't the scariest. There is obviously the economic impact. There is the idea that it is a U.S. direct or U.S. first or U.S. only economy to get into, with the secondary being available long term, but the U.S. first economy tied in with this project. But it is something that people have been waiting for, and some people have been looking for, and literally 4 years in the making. People asking for a contest like that, and we do have one. Trees, good to see you. Good to see you, Cheese. And we do need to get into it. And in that piece, it is the one announcement of the day. It is an important announcement. That is Sparklet Wars. Get into the details here. There is some context. There is some history to go over as far as, Spud Wars and what people have been asking for in competitions, and the difference between a temporary structure and a long-term lifetime structure, and assets versus, competition pylons, things that you're building just to exist in that inside of a competition, and potentially the long-term value, the difference in long-term value when we're talking about assets versus construction objects just for a contest. And then, of course, there's a lot of details in here, so we'll go over the finite details in this announcement. But to get into them, to put the disclaimer up front, all views and opinions expressed by myself, mine and mine alone, shouldn't be taken as game strategy advice, should not be taken as financial advice, doesn't represent the game of the team of Upland. Any guests or contributors we have on, same thing. Does not represent the game or the team of Upland, not financial advice, not game strategy advice, does not represent myself, the Goldsmith, or the Cafe Nightly Show. The hat, it is cold. It is northern Vermont. It is about 4 degrees out, Cheese, and it was cold. It is cold. That's what's going on, and we try not to freeze our head. That's what's going on with the hat, Cheese. But to get started, again, one piece of news, big piece of news: Sparklet Wars. And do want to get into it, the actual announcement, the way it's structured, and of course, the context along the way. Let's start with the announcement. There's a lot to it. We can get into it. I do want to just put out there, if you want to see what what was put out by the team, there's an explainer video as opposed to just the announcement. With the explainer videos, they've actually done a pretty good job lately having the majority of the key details there. Obviously, no context breakdown, but the specifics of what's in the announcement, they are mostly in the explainer video that comes out. So you want to know the dates, and you want to know the economics of it, the prices, the dates of sales. Those are all in there, which again is a good thing. But we get into a few more details along the way when we can look at the written copy and get into the context a little bit. So we'll get into this real quick. Again, announcement. The war begins. Sparklet Wars is here. We're beyond excited to announce Sparklet Wars, one of the biggest gamification updates in the game of Upland since Spud Wars. And this, again, we're talking Spud Wars. We're talking 3 years and change ago. We're talking almost 4 years ago at this point. This new recurring event lets players choose one of 3 factions to battle for control of Tokyo, compete for a massive Sparklet airdrop. Massive is a context, or massive in context, of course, because we've seen larger Sparklet drops, airdrops recently. There was just a 500,000 a Sparklet drop that just happened. I got a little piece of it. For the holiday shopping season, I should say. That was a 500,000 Sparklet. This is going to be 200,000, so maybe not massive, but there is a Sparklet airdrop pool. Exclusive rewards and ultimate faction dominance. And again, a lot of people are looking for gamification in layer 1, something that doesn't require them to, have multiple logins and go into multiple ecosystems and go into a new layer 2 that they haven't ever participated in. They don't have to own assets in Upland and in this layer 2. So it is nice. It is nice that this is something that is a layer 1 contest. It is something that this brings some new features along with it. I do want to point out those features. Those features are hopeful and they're forward pointing, and some of them, lead us to believe that Upland can do and will do some things in the map, or give tools in the map that people have been asking for as well. We'll get into those as well. Strategize, collaborate with your team, and claim victory in this high-stakes, action-packed war. Let's get in. And as we get into this announcement, we'll see it. It's in there in a couple places, but this is a beta. And being a beta, A, the scale is smaller than it may be in the future. And B, is Upland is kind of trying to minimize this. It's over a shorter period of time. It is, maybe not as many people involved, but it is opportunity to learn the successes of it, get some benefits out of it. And again, if you're a participant, there is the 200,000 Sparklet pool to the winning team. There is still the prizes, Block Explorer, and other prizes involved if you are one of the top contributors. So with all those considerations, this is a great contest to participate in if you want to see at least a little glimpse of what Sparklet wars can be in the future, and kind of a little bit of a harkening back to what Spud Wars was, with the competition, the strategy, the scheming, the teamwork. That is something that's all baked into this pie. Sparklet Wars will become a recurring event held between seasons. So this is something that we're going to see after one season ends. You have that 2-week hiatus. You have the Sparklet Wars is going to be in between those 2 weeks hiatuses, focusing on different cities each time. This inaugural iteration serves as an open beta with participation per faction intentionally capped, again, smaller than it may be in the future, to ensure a controlled and balanced experience. Following this first war, we'll analyze the results, gather some feedback, and refine the event mechanics moving forward. Over time, we plan to expand faction sizes. So, small now, bigger later, allowing even more players to join the battle and shape the future of Sparklet Wars. Some really cool pieces here. What is Sparklet Wars? Sparklet Wars is an intense battle for control of the city, designed to inspire teamwork, creativity, and strategic mastery, featuring counterplay dynamics, tactical item deployment, and score optimization. And there's an interesting way that score optimization is encouraged, though there is a pretty cool mechanic as far as scoring mechanic here that really incentivizes continued action, not just purchase in place, not just pay to win. There actually is this requirement for continued activity along the play period, and we'll get into those details. Players must unite within their faction to dominate the city and claim ultimate victory. At the end of the event, the faction with the highest score will be declared the winner, and every player in that faction will receive a share of a Sparklet airdrop, with rewards scaled based on individual contributions. Again, the top contributor is going to get more of that 200,000 Sparklet pool. The least contributor in the group still going to get something. It's going to be scaled based on how much contribution they did towards the team score overall. Choose your faction. Upland, the battle for control of the city is about more than just territory. It's a war for Sparklet, the ultimate prize. 3 distinct factions rise to the challenge, each bringing their own unique vision, strategy, and determination to claim victory. So here are the 3 factions, and then I'm going to go over what Upland's put here with the big old caveat is, we'll get into. Crypto Knights, guardians of stability and wealth. The Crypto Knights fight to secure Sparklet as the foundation of a prosperous future. Clad in armor, they use strategy and resilience to dominate. Creed, secure the wealth, defend the future. Crypto Knights, secure the wealth, defend the future. This little image here. Purge Pirates, fearless and bold. The Purge Pirates view Sparklet as a treasure to be claimed through chaos and daring tactics. They thrive on disruption, dismantling rival plans, and seizing victory. Battle cry, take what's ours, leave none for the rest. Here we go. The Purge Pirates, take what's ours, leave none for the rest. Cypher Cyborgs, masters of technology and precision. The Cypher Cyborgs see Sparklet as the key to evolution and control. They leverage innovation and strategy to dominate the battlefield. Motto is evolve, adapt, dominate. Cypher Cyborgs, evolve, adapt, dominate. The discipline of the Crypto Knights, the audacity of the Purge Pirates, and the precision of the Cypher Gophers, Cyborgs. There we go. Cypher Cyborgs. I'm going to say Gophers. Cyphers, Cyborgs collide in a high stakes war. Sparklet isn't just a reward, it's the ultimate symbol of dominance, shaping the future of the victorious faction. Okay, faction, it's all exposition. This is all exposition because the three factions don't have any real difference. There's no real parity. There's no real advantage of one faction over the other. There's not a +5 bonus for being in this faction. One faction doesn't do one thing more efficient than others. The factions are meant to just be differentiated groups, 3 differentiated groups. We'll get into how you can get into one group or specify one versus the other, but 3 differentiated buckets, 3 differentiated groups, and seeing those 3 differentiated groups ultimately be something that has the same possibility. People burn passes to get into, and there are some mechanisms to control what passes people are burning, what groups people are entering. Prepare for battle. To participate, you will need to burn a faction pass available in the Epic Store. These sale will start on January 16th at 9 a.m. PT. The first pass you burn locks your faction, and it's important to note the additional burns of passes won't change your allegiance. So you can burn 15 passes. The first one you burn does determine what faction you are part of. Faction passes are randomized, but you can trade with other players to secure your desired faction. These passes are designed specifically for burning and will not contribute to your collector's score. So this is interesting. Uplands talked about these season passes tied to specific seasons that you can earn for collector's points. You can have and hold long-term for collector's points. These are outside of that window. There are not collector's points tied to these passes. These are burn-specific passes, meaning there's no advantage of leaving them unburnt unless you call it a collector's value, but there's no advantage of leaving these unburnt. So that Upland is putting a strong emphasis on burn. Don't use these as a collector's pass. Upland, especially during this beta, does want people to participate. That's how we're going to make this better. That's how we're going to know what mechanics are working and aren't, and then obviously allowing for the future expansion. Trying to curb the greedy people from hoarding, says Jimmy Jester. Yeah, people buying them and holding them and collector score. This is not a thing to use to boost your collector score for sure. To ensure fair and balanced faction distribution, a minimum of 50 players must register, aka burn the pass, for each faction before the battle can commence. Again, this sale is going to happen. A number of passes are going to be distributed. We're going to get into the numbers. Number of passes are going to be distributed. But if people are sitting on them, like Jimmy Jester is mentioning here with this idea of just sitting on them, hoarding them, just sitting on them and hoarding them, the contest never starts. People have to burn their pass to get the contest started. People can't see who is doing well and then go and shop and buy passes, or they could, but they have less ability to do so because ultimately there are some mechanisms that Upland has built to make the parity of this contest a focus. Again, 50 people in each of the factions has to burn. You can't have 100 people burning one, 10 in the other, 10 in the other, and have that one faction really dominate. For each faction before the battle can commence, additionally, if any single faction exceeds 25% more burns than the other two, burns for that faction's pass will be temporarily disabled to maintain competitive balance. Again, this is one of those things that we don't want this to be a gamified system. We don't want people to be squatting on the Purge Pirates. Nobody burns Purge Pirates. Everyone burns their Crypto Knights, and the people who burn the Crypto Knights just run right over top of the other two factions because the Crypto Knights are holding on to all the Purge Pirates and all the Cypher Cyborgs and not burning them so that they don't have any competition. Again, Upland has a mechanism to prevent that from being the case. That 25% more burns than any other or any any other faction is going to lock or freeze for future burns, at least temporarily, of that specific pass. Once you have joined your faction, you will gain access to a Sparklet Wars bundle exclusive to your team. These bundles can only be purchased by your chosen faction. So if you haven't burnt that pass specified into a specific faction, you're not going to be able to buy these passes. We've had this before, these gated entry sales. These bundles can only be purchased for your chosen faction and include essential tools for victory: ornaments, faction points, cannons, offensive weapons, chests, defensive weapons, and the powerful car ultimate weapon will all be available. The car is designed to help you secure points and disrupt rival factions. This is something where we talk about a randomized bundle sale. You don't know what you're going to get until you get it. You may get the things that are more valuable, you may get things a little less than me. You may buy things that make sense for you to trade off to somebody else. We'll get into kind of this idea of shared strategy here in a bit, but those are all important things that, again, in these bundle sales, sometimes it seems you get what you get, and sometimes it seems arbitrary. There's 30 of each block explorer, and there's 5 different block explorer, and there's no differentiation other than artistic between the 5 block explorers. These are differentiated items. They all have a reason. They all have a purpose. And we'll get into why this is different than some of these other contests that we've had in the past, like these contests where people burn and hold and have to trade something in at a certain time to earn a certain thing with a short window, because this is no longer a short window, one time, one off type competition. Once a pass is burned, players can gain access to an exclusive in-game chat channel for their faction only, providing a perfect way to strategize and connect with teammates. Additionally, players will receive a temporary unique avatar overlay. Again, you're in your team. People can see you're in your team if you choose to put that avatar overlay on. It's a way of identifying yourself and kind of giving yourself away to the game a little bit, being part of this short-term temporary gamification of the game. Additionally, players will receive, again, that temporary unique avatar, proudly displaying the faction they have officially joined. This is what the overlays look like. Crypto Knights right here, the Purge Pirates right here, and the Cypher Cyborgs right here. Scoring mechanisms, mechanics. The game and the goal of Sparklet Wars is simple. Earn the most points for your faction through strategic building, decorating, and asset placement. That's it. Do it for the team. Cumulatively, team earns more points. The more points you contribute to the team score, the more or the larger your share will be if your team wins. Cheat sheets for each faction are included at the end of the blog, providing a quick reference guide on how everything works. The quick reference guide essentially is going to show points for individual items. We'll get into those things, but there are some more explainers between now and there. Build and decorate. The primary way factions will earn points is by placing faction ornaments. Again, this is where a lot of the points are going to be. Faction ornaments on existing structures in Tokyo, which gives value to structures that are already built in Tokyo. It gives value to properties that have structures on them now. Now, is it temporary value? You have to say yes, because Faction Wars is going to move from city to city. We may have another Faction Wars in Tokyo again in the future at some point, but it would make sense with 60 cities in the game of Upland, over 60 cities now. It would make sense that if you have a Wars, a Sparklet Wars in one city, that the next in-between seasons period, you're going to have the Wars in another city somewhere else around the map. So this is something that we can keep our eyes out for, how Sparklet Wars works in the future and how it's going to evolve. But it's ultimately likely to evolve into being in different cities each season. And again, with 60 cities, we have plenty of different cities to go into and new cities to come. So I don't think going back or returning to the same city is likely anytime soon. Showcasing your faction's claim to the city, these ornaments contribute points to the faction's score based on the type of building they are placed on. These items are designed to be reusable for future Sparklet Wars events. That is correct. These items are reusable. In the past, we've seen lots and lots of these contests where you have items and they have value for a short period of time, and then outside of that period of time, they may never have value again. We have items that have a value for 2 or 3 cycles, and like our totems, potentially that utility is going to expire when they're done those cycles. This is a type of a contest or a type of event that Upland can run 100 times. Not that they will, not that there's a guarantee of anything in this world, but if Upland does run this well and people like it, and Upland keeps iterating and keeps returning, this could be a set of assets that has return value season after season after season, potentially year after year at that point. And that does make it special. That makes it more than just a quick buy these assets because we said so. Like some structural ornaments that get sold, they have value as a collectible in certain seasons. One season a year, comes back to it once a year. This is something that could have value every 2 months. Every 2 months between every season. And again, when we look at that, we look at the economics here. I feel much more comfortable with the way the economics are set here, as opposed to the way we've seen some of these bundle sales. We'll get into the details as we look at the sales. Good to see you, Cheese. What are you jumping on? We've got some notes here. I'm such a NFT hoarder. There are dead NFT animals under my NFT stuff. I don't know if this makes sense. Okay, Cheese, it makes sense. Yes, there are piles and piles of NFTs. I get the idea of sitting on top of piles and piles of NFTs, but these are NFTs that have use case time and time again. You can use them as ornaments, leave them on your structures long term if you want to leave them there. They look kind of cool if you ask me. And you could say I'm representing my faction even in between the cycles or in between the competition periods. But this seems to be something that's going to have value, the in-between period, in-between season, and the next in-between season, the next in-between season. With that, it's more than just a NFT sitting in a pile somewhere forever as a collectible that nobody's ever going to want again, and you can never do anything with again. Good to see you, Blue. Glad you're here. Or will they keep making ornaments each city so players will have to keep buying and use? Upland's already said these are reusable. So they're going to be reusable for the next city and the next city and the next city as they move. That means, yes, there are going to be more of these for sale in the future, I'm sure. When we get into next season, Upland's going to add new dynamics. Upland's talked about potentially having new asset types as we go from season to season. So there will be new sales. That's not a question. Upland's talked about expanding. And as they expand, people may end up in a position where they're buying more every time they have a chance, and they grow their collection over time, but they're able to use their old ornaments on their new structures, their old ornaments in the new city, new competition ornaments you've had from the last couple seasons, the last couple competitions. Kind of interesting thing when we talk about these being randomized, but being randomized by faction, it makes it a lot more. It makes the use case a lot easier for people. It takes some of the guesswork out of it. We've had these contests before, like when we had the potion burning for totems, where you're getting totem potions that you have no use for, and then you go in and trading off because they have nothing to do with what you want to do with the totems that you have. We're not going to end up in the same position here. So I'm pretty happy that we have that differentiation. Points breakdown. So ornaments by type of structure have different points. The micro house has 30 points. Ornament on Tokyo, a townhouse, again, that is a specific structure to Tokyo, 50 points. Ornament on an apartment building, 70 points. And faction superstructure, 250 points. What you can see here is the ornament on Tokyo townhouse. Yes, you're absolutely right, Blue. That is not going to be something that's transferable to future cities. The micro house, transferable to future cities. The apartment building, transferable to future cities. The faction superstructure, that is a structure. That is not an ornament. So with that in mind, if you're buying and you're getting micro houses and you're getting apartment ornaments, these are reusable and they may have reusable, should have reusable points in the future. So keep that in mind. Keep your eyes open on that. And again, as Upland set up here in its part of announcement, these are going to be reusable. These items are designed for reusable in future Sparklet Wars events, but it's hard to be reusable if you don't have that structure type, the Tokyo Townhouse, in future cities, unless we're going to, of course, be back in Tokyo at some point. In addition, players can construct faction superstructures, permanent buildings that symbolize your faction's dominance and serve as a powerful representation of your collective strength. Collective strength because these cannot be built inside of the contest period by a single player, with the exception possibly of one player in the game. But they can't be built inside this play period by one player. They take participation by many. And them being permanent structures, unlike what we saw with Spud Wars, where things got built and they went, they were no more at the end of the contest period. These structures, these superstructures, are going to be these leftover hallmarks of this event that are there long term. They're going to count as points if we ever go back to that city, but it's very possible we'll never go back to the same city because we have enough cities in the game of Upland. So we'll have to watch our eyes and see what are happening. Zareen Blue says, if they make new ornaments and they keep coming out and better ones, and they may make the old ones less valuable. I don't necessarily think Upland's going to change the points here. I think they have in the past, right? They have with the NFLPA. That's the thing, is they give more points to the new NFLPA legits. It's kind of a way of scaling things and encouraging people to buy new. But with NFTs, I like the idea that they at least hold their value, if not increase their value, for the utility side of things, right? Where you bought something 2 years ago, you believed in this unproven contest, the Sparklet Wars. You bought the first Gen 1, first edition of them. Even if they have a different editions later on, get the same amount of points for using them during the season. These unique structures require 40,000 Sparklet hours. Yeah, this is the faction superstructure. 40,000 Sparklet hours, and the period is a week. So 40,000 Sparklet hours inside of a week, that's going to take quite a bit of staking. In order to get to that 40,000, we are talking, woo-wee, 40,000. Woo, divided by 12. No, let's go divide by 24. Divided by 7. Yeah, at least 238 spark staked consecutively. That's on the building the whole time, at least 238. Max on the structure, if we take a look here, is 500 spark. That means definitely can be done in a week at 500 spark. At 500 spark, about 4 days to get this completed. Definitely can be done. But 500 spark is a lot of spark. We're going to talk about the number of people who are participating in each faction. If the wrong people are participating in that faction, again, not that there's wrong people and right people in Upland, but there are some people who don't have enough Sparklet to contribute 1/200th here. Again, 238 Sparklet, 238 sparks, right? 238 spark. Theoretically, you have to have out of 200 people, on average, people putting in 1.5 spark in. That can definitely be done. To get to 500, you're going to have people at least putting 2.5 spark in. That definitely can be done. Lots of people have more than 2.5 spark, but they have to be willing to do so. They have to participate. And there's going to be somebody in the list who may not participate at average, though there'll likely be people who participate above average, earning themselves a larger share of that Sparklet airdrop if their team is victorious. These unique structures, again, 40,000 Sparklet. You have a week to construct it. 500 spark is the max stake at any given time. It takes about at least 3.4 days at the 500 spark. The scale of this monumental task demands pooled resources and collaboration of your entire faction. Again, you can get there. There's people who have plenty of spark. You have 50 people who each put 10 spark on. You're going to get there. there's plenty of people who have 10 spark to contribute. Once completed, these superstructures grant the highest point values of your scoring method, of any scoring method, standing as lasting monuments of your faction's unity and effort while cementing your place in the battle for dominance. Now, there's some strategies here. Upland kind of hints at one of them, and we'll take a look in a minute. While all faction superstructures are available for anyone to build, that means you can build the opposing team's superstructure. Only those aligned with your registered faction will count towards the leaderboard. So if I started a, I don't know, cyber cyborg structure, and I'm not a cyber cyborg, and I get that thing built, and you're helping me, and your buddy's helping me, and we're all helping each other. We want to build this cyber cyborg, and it gets fully built. Well, guess what? I'm not a cyber cyborg. That doesn't count towards the cyber cyborg points. If you invested your Sparklet or staked your Sparklet in that build so that you could see that structure built and you're a cyber cyborg, sorry, no points for you. So there's something to watch out for. The other thing that we've seen in some of these other contests is people play to both sides. They're playing one team and the other. You can't do that here. You can tank your own team. Please don't tank your own team. But you can't play both sides. You can't be participating with one group and also participating with the other and taking your winnings with a team that wins. Yeah, you get assigned one team. You want to do everything you can to be on the winning team by making the team you happen to be on the winning team. While all faction superstructures are available for anyone to build, again, there has this ability to use this mechanic to potentially have people waste their Sparklet allocation, or not waste it. It's still getting built, but they're not getting the benefit that they would otherwise be getting if they were putting their Sparklet on another one of these structures that got completed during this period. This opens a door for strategic deception, for players to construct decoy superstructures to mislead rivals, which means that special chat, that special group that allows everybody on the same faction to communicate could be integral. It could be integral for people to communicate and to coordinate where they are putting their Sparklet as a team. Be cautious. Wasting Sparklet on a structure that doesn't benefit your faction can cost you valuable resources and points in the end. Playing your strategy carefully to maximize your faction's dominance. These are what the superstructures look like. Here's the Crypto Knights. Here's the Purge Pirates. Here's the Cypher Cyborgs. Scoring in Sparklet Wars is progressive, with a percentage of each faction's total daily score contributing to the overall score at the end of each day. That means you have a score, you have points that you have, but depending on what day you're on, it is going to be scaled differently. Scaling meaning a higher amount of contributions at a different day. We'll talk about how that is a progressive structure, meaning that the later days have more impact, have more points than the earlier days. The percentage increases as the event progresses, making strategy and adaptability key. So you throw down some assets, you buy a bunch of assets, you throw them where you choose, and that first day counts a little bit. And then if you leave them there and the other team adapts and they negate a lot of your points, you don't move your structures, well, guess what? Or your map assets, or you don't strategically move your assets around the map, you are going to see that your team, the opposing teams, are going to get those points for being adaptable, for participating, for continuing to play the game, and you are going to have significantly less points on those later days. So here's a breakdown. Day number 1, 10% of your faction's score becomes part of the overall score, goes to the cumulative score. Second day is 20%, third day is 30%, fourth day is 40%, fifth day is 50%, sixth day is 75%, and then finally the seventh day, 100% of that day's faction score, the points at the end of the day, that goes to that total score. And that total score, the cumulative of day 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, that add together, that is the score, and that is what is going to determine who is the winner at the end of this contest. Again, The idea that you bought a bunch of assets and threw them on the map, that has value first day. Only 10% of what you score that day as a team. On day number 2, 20% of what you have there. So you're going to see more points later in the game. So you're going to want to keep participating. Participating up front, do it because that 10% on the day 1 could be the difference between winning and losing. But ultimately, day 5, 6, 7 going to have significantly more impact than day 1, 2, and 3 on the overall score. So keep that in mind and keep on building. Of course, the key thing here is there's also some things that you can't score on day 1 that you'll be able to score on day 4, 5, 6, and 7. That includes those superstructures. This scoring system rewards factions that communicate effectively, pay attention to daily performance, and make strategic adjustments. Teams that collaborate and adapt their tactics daily will gain a significant edge as the competition continues to unfold. We have categories of assets here. We have weapons. Weapons are specialized map assets categorized by offensive and defensive capabilities used to strategically attack or protect faction scores. In the first chapter of Wars, all offensive and defensive map assets will have the same power levels. That means there's not rarity, there's not scale value. If it is this weapon, it is this value. If it is this defensive item, it is this value. These items are designed to be reusable and will be reusable in future Sparklet Wars events. Again, there may be future assets. They may be used differently. There may be rarity on future ones. These may be considered commons in the future. But again, these will have value. These will have utilization. They will have ability to be a utility in the future, not just a collectible that sits in your collection, like Cheese said, and sits underneath all the other NFTs in a big pile because there's nothing you can do with them. In this first chapter of Wars, everything is even playing field here as far as the points for the weapons are concerned. As future seasons unfold, additional map assets will be introduced, each with unique strengths and scoring mechanisms to enhance strategic depth. Again, overlapping weapons, potentially overlapping defensive items. Offensive play, so cannons. We have cannons this time around. Cannons reduce the score of enemy factions within their 25-meter radius by 25%. If multiple cannons target the same score source, the effects stack incrementally based on the remaining score. After each reduction, for example, the second cannon reduces the composite score, the reduced score, by 25%. Pretty easy. A single cannon can only target a single scoring source, ornaments, or a completed superstructure, with its radius prioritizing the earliest placed scoring source first. So there's a strategy here, right? If there's items that are earliest placed and they sit there, they come and become a target. And if there's 5 people who are putting cannons in the same area, they're reducing the points that are coming out of a single, whatever that ornament is. So if you stick your ornaments right together, only one of them is likely to get that hit again and again and again, as opposed to if you have them strategically spaced throughout, or to use strategically spaced throughout, maybe the opposing team can kind of use the weapons to reduce all of those by 25%. Offensive items don't affect your own faction's score sources. Okay, you don't get points for offensive weapons. You only use them to reduce the score of the opposing teams. These are what the weapons look like. This is a cannon for Crypto Knights. Again, it's looking like it's medieval. It looks like it's not gunpowder. I don't know. Gunpowder actuate. I don't know what it is. It looks like it's made out of wooden cannon. I'm not sure how that works, but that's what we have here. We have Purge Pirates. I could obviously a cannon. There is a Sparklet S on there. And then there's a Cypher Cyborgs here. Defensive play, chests. Chests neutralize the effects of cannons that affect scoring items within the chest 22-meter radius. The most impactful cannon, highest multiplier, is neutralized first. If multipliers are tied, the most recent cannon is neutralized. The single chest can neutralize one cannon per scoring item. A property with a structure ornament or a completed superstructure that contributes points to your faction within its radius. For example, if two cannons are targeting the same scoring item, only one will be neutralized. If two cannons are targeting different scoring items within the chest radius, both will be neutralized. Oh la la. Crypto Knights, Purge Pirates, Cypher, Cyborgs each have their own chest. Crypto Knights have that wood and iron look that continues through. Purge Pirates and then Cypher Cyborgs have their themes there as well. There are 250 of each of the chests. There are 250 of each of the cannons. And we do have, and we will see that we have a number of these ornaments. We'll see those notes here as we look at the sale as well. Defensive play on the chest, again, a key part of countering the offensive play of the other teams. And then finally, there's one more. There is one more asset type here. The ultimate weapon, aka the cart. The cart is a ultimate weapon and the rarest of all assets. It reduces all opponent structures points to 0 within a 30-meter radius. So there's not going to be a ton of these, but if you have one, drop it in a dense area, and all of those points go to 0. It is completely unaffected by offensive or defensive map assets. That means you cannot neutralize the cart. The cart neutralizes other assets, other points that are generated. So more of the story, this is part of where this adaptability comes from. If you have somebody neutralizing your points with a cart, well, you're going to move that map asset so you get points somewhere else. And then they're going to see you did this and they're going to move their cart. So keep that in mind. That is part of this game. That is the reason why the incentives are to keep pushing that you're going to get more points later in the game overall. Again, this is a strong tool. The cart is a devastating tool, but the defense obviously is to separate things, to spread things out as much as possible. Crypto Knights have their own cart here. Obviously, it looks like a shield up front. We have the Purge Pirates. We have the Cypher Cyborgs here, 25 of each. So there's a total of 75 of these of all the assets in the bundles, 25 for each of the factions. Players will have complete freedom to strategically place and position their assets anywhere in the city throughout the war, giving them the ability to adapt, flexibility to maximize their faction score. So day 1, day 2, day 3, and in between on those days, you can move things around, changing your strategy, and then having the other factions adjust. They're going to adjust to you, you're going to adjust to them, allowing players to respond dynamically to evolving strategies and shifting rival tactics. Success will hinge on the collaboration and communication between your faction. Faction members must work together and determine the best locations for placing their items, targeting their opponents, and constructing critical structures. Whether through in-game chat, group discussion, group chats, Discord, or other platforms, connecting with your faction is a key to building a winning strategy. The most successful teams will excel by playing ahead, coordinating effectively, and executing their strategy with precision. Teamwork and communication aren't just advantages, they're essential to crushing the competition. New feature. And again, this is something that's a layered feature. It's coming up because of this contest, and it may have applications in the future. New feature, brand new in-game feature specifically designed for Sparklet Wars, potential value in the future. During each war, players will have the ability to view the action radius. So you'll be able to click on your cannon and see the radius, the actual area in which that is effective. This is huge. We've had this before. We're talking about, does this structure fit on this property? I don't own it yet. You have to own it to try. If we can have the same type of tool where we can look at something and kind of space it out on the map and see where the range is, we can get a better idea of what we're doing in the game. There's lots of different types of gamification elements where measuring on the map or visualizing on the map is key. And this would be fun to see the same tool get applied in other places in the game of Upland. Again, this is clear and visual. It's easy to see, to show on the map what the impact is going to be from that asset. Each faction's radius is color-coded for easy identification. Brown for the knights, yellow for the pirates, and blue for the cyborgs. This feature ensures players can strategically place their offensive and defensive items for maximum effect. You want to be making sure that you are targeting, that your targets end up in your target range. Key there. Note, the above image is for illustration purposes only and does not represent the actual radius of the items shown. It is intended to provide a visual example of how radii will look in the game. To secure victory, players must carefully position their assets, ensuring the targets they're attacking are defending fall within the radius of their placed items. Precision planning will be keys to dominating the battlefield. So there's some dates. Let's make sure we know what they are. Sparklet Wars Pass sale. Unlock your path to glory with the exclusive Sparklet Wars Pass. You gotta buy the pass to participate, granting access to one of 3 factions: Crypto Knights, Purge Pirates, and Cypher Cyborgs. Each player can purchase 1 pass, and your faction will be determined by the first pass burned during registration. So buy, trade, swap to get to the faction you want, or you just join the faction that you get up front after this bundle sale. But wait, no guarantee you're going to get this pass. It is a limited sale. Registration does start on Wednesday, January 15th, 9 a.m. PT. Sale begins Thursday, January 16th, 9 a.m. PT. $5 a pass. There are 600 of the passes available, bundles available, randomized. So there's 200 of each pass of each faction that's available for a total of 600. You buy your pass, you burn it, you find out what faction, you buy your pass, you see your pass once it gets randomly distributed. You know what faction it is if you choose to burn it. If you don't choose to burn it, you can try to trade or swap and get a pass of the faction you choose to be a part of. Sparklet Wars Bundle. Each bundle contains 2 randomly selected NFTs. So this is a sale in USD. We'll tackle the pricing in USD for 2 assets. And this is why I start looking at the value being a little different here. There's a mix of what the assets are. There's a rarity that's tied into it, and there's a utility. And some assets in the game of Upland have almost no utility. This has a returning utility. It's part of a gamification loop, and it is something that you can earn some Sparklet off. So maybe these sales are worth it. Each bundle contains 2 randomly selected NFTs, which include map asset, the offensive or the defensive. So could be a cannon, could be a chest. A card, the ultimate weapon, rare. There's only 25 from each faction. Or a structure ornament tailored for specific buildings like a micro-house, the apartment building, or Tokyo's unique structure. And again, that's randomized. You're not going to know what you got. You get what you get. Registration does start Friday, the 17th of January, 9 a.m. PT. The sale begins on Saturday, the 18th of January, 9 a.m. PT. $13 for this bundle. There's 500 of them available. Again, the bundles are going to be divided by faction. You have to have the faction burnt before you can participate in these war bundles. Remember, players will only be able to purchase bundles specifically for their faction that they have joined by burning their faction pass first. Once your faction is locked in, your access to bundles will only align exclusively with your chosen team. Faction pass bundle window. So you have a period of time to burn your pass, to be snapshotted, to be part of the faction. Thursday, January 16th at 9 a.m. PT. That's when it starts. The war begins on Monday, January 20th at 9 a.m. PT. The battle concludes Monday, January 27th at 9 a.m. PT. It looks like there isn't an end period for the faction burns, but the open period to burn opening January 16th, 9 a.m. PT. The war starting on the 20th of January, 9 a.m. PT. Again, 7 days, 7-day contest here. Spoils of War. The ultimate goal of the Sparklet Wars is to secure your share of the 200,000 Sparklet airdrop. Only one team gets it. The more you contribute to your team's well-being or to your team's score, if the team wins, you get a proportional share of that reward. Rewards don't stop there. It's not just a Sparklet airdrop. The top performing individual players in each faction will earn special exclusive rewards as recognition for their contribution. So if you are the number one contributor on a team that does not win, you still get a prize along the way. Faction winners. Sparklet airdrop. The higher your rank on your faction's leaderboard, the larger your share of the airdrop if you're the winning team. Exclusive badges. The top 3 players in the winning faction will be awarded the coveted Sparklet Wars badge, a mark of leadership and excellence. All factions receive an exclusive block explorer for the top 25 players. So 25 players, each team get a block explorer, and it looks like a little bit like this with these stacked coins here. Explorer commemorating the standout performance in the event. The leaderboards. Players will have access to 3 leaderboards during the event, each offering unique insights into the battle's progression. There's a real-time faction leaderboard, tracks the current scores of each and all the factions, updated regularly throughout the day to reflect the latest standings. This leaderboard will be conveniently located in-game under the leaderboards section in the quick menu. Official faction score leaderboard. That is the definitive tracker of your faction's cumulative score. So it tells you what you are scored as a team, updated daily. It logs all faction points and ultimately determines the victor of Sparklet Wars. For easy access, again, leaderboard in the leaderboards tab in the quick menu. In Layer 1 Upwind, individual battle score board. This is how many points you've earned towards your team's success. A detailed external leaderboard showcasing individual player performance for each faction throughout the event. A leaderboard of the leaders on this board will be provided here once it goes live, making it easy to monitor your progress and see where your rank is among the competition. Faction cheat sheet. So let's take a look at the faction cheat sheet. Again, everybody, each faction has the same points for the same type of assets, but they look different. Below is a cheat sheet for each faction showing players with a quick and easy reference to understand how each player or each item functions in Sparklet Wars. There's a structure ornament, micro. Here is a structure ornament, Tokyo townhouse. Here's a structure ornament, apartment building. And here's the structure of the superstructure. There you go, superstructure for Tokyo for the cyborgs. These other structures here, cyber cyborgs. That's where we are, cyber cyborgs. Look at that, easy enough. We break these out into individual factions on the cheat sheet. This is what the cart looks like. This is what the map asset looks like. This is what the offensive, I should say. This is what the defensive looks like. And the value, what they do, the utility listed right here. See, 25% reduction within 25 meters radius, one targeted structure. That's what it says for the cannon. It says the map asset, the defense, the chest. It tells you how that works. It tells you how the cart works. This is all right here. Cheat sheet makes it easy. Follow the cheat sheet. That'll answer most of your questions if you continue to have them. And then we just see the Purge Pirates, same thing. Same points for the same structures. They just look different. Same thing here for Crypto Knights. And then get ready. Are you ready to battle, build, and conquer? The city of Tokyo awaits its champion. Whether you are to fight with the precision of the Crypto Knights, the daring of the Purge Pirates, or the ingenuity of the Cypher Cyborgs, your faction's legacy is at stake. Again, factions are competitions. Factions are a grouping. When Upwind talks about like this team of the Crypto Knights, they are this. This team of the Cypher Cyborgs, they are this. There's no buff. There's no additional points for Cypher Cyborgs. There's no additional points in some category for the Purge Pirates or the Crypto Knights. But what it is it's exposition. It's a story. It is something to, kind of build a little bit of excitement around. And I think that people like that. We've had these things in the game before where it's like, we're doing this for this reason. It's a made up reason, but we're doing it. That is something that makes these competitions more fun for a lot of people. Join the conversation, discuss this more on Upwind's Discord. Stay updated on future details on X. And of course, in game, we're going to have that channel open up. People are going to have the ability, once they are in a faction, to participate and coordinate and build things. A lot of things to have takeaways here. We covered some of them, but people enjoyed Sparklet Wars. This was done a while ago. A lot of people who are in the game now were not part of Sparklet Wars. This is going to be something that is theoretically done on a rotating basis in between seasons, one season to the next. We had some other contests Uplands talked about doing in between seasons, but this is a nice one. This is a nice one that kind of does what a lot of people have wanted to do. It is something that is and looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and it is something that creates new assets in the game. So you're spending USD to buy an asset. I am a critic of it sometimes, or I'm hesitant on Upland's continued use of inventing these assets that are new class, new type. They do something, they look different than what we've had in the game before. Again, map asset, but a map asset with utility. I'm sometimes a little bit dubious about it. However, with continued utilization, with continued utility, one season to the next, I think there's some value there. I think the scaling on price, it's not crazy. I've seen worse scaled prices by Rarity for Upland. Keep in mind, we just had structural ornaments that Upland put in the market for $18, $19, $20. Sat there, they didn't get sold, but they didn't have utility. They had the utility was you could use them as an ornament during a season to get 1 point, or in the case that it's on a collection property, 2 points towards the structure ornament score at the end of the season for the structure ornament contest. This has more utility. Again, map assets, Uplands price them higher, Uplands price them lower than the 13 USD, but that's what we're looking at, 13 USD. You don't know what you're going to get. You're getting 2 asset types. And of course, that car is a car. Upland just sold cards at $45 a piece. So that would seem like a heck of a value to random pack hit a cart. Carts, keep in mind, they are 10% of that pool, essentially. 10% of the overall assets that are out there for your faction. So don't expect that you're necessarily going to get one of them. Just an easy thing to keep in mind. Take a look at comments real quick. I'm not going to be playing another pay to win game for a slim chance of winning Sparklet. Slim, maybe Blue. It's a 1 out of 3 technically, but it's not a true 1 out of 3, right? You choose the right team, or you come into the team and you're going to bring something like strategy or a significant amount of Sparklet. You definitely could be juicing the score for that team. If you're the person with one of the highest Sparklet pools of anybody, and you're going to be helping build these superstructures, well, that's going to be really helpful for the team. If you're somebody who is going to work to coordinate with the team to make sure assets are getting moved at the right times to help maximize the score, then you could be very much affecting the overall outcome, affecting the overall score of your team. It's not really a random roll of the dice, but it is the type of gamification that some people have been asking for 4 years. And Blue, if it's not your thing, I understand. But this is literally something people have been asking for 4 years. When we had the Sparklet, when we had the Spud Wars, it wasn't costing USD. It was a temporary resource. Up, I put the temporary resource out. You had to have to go and buy it. Now you're leveraging Sparklet that you already either earned or purchased. You are having to spend USD to purchase these assets to participate. You are spending USD in order to purchase the pass that you have to burn. So yes, this is a pay to play or pay to enter. The pass, then the burning, that makes it a gated gameplay. You can play the game of Upland without playing this. You can play the game of Upland without spending USD. But to access this particular gamification, you're paying USD on the primary to buy the pass. You could theoretically, if someone buys it in USD and goes to trade it, sell it, swap it, you could trade it, sell it, swap it to somebody either for an asset or for UPIX. And if you buy it for UPIX, it's probably going to be a much higher amount than 13,000 UPIX, more than likely. So it may be possible in the secondary to see some of these pop up. And I would look and I would consider this as being something that there may be some people who buy these bundles just to resell them or flip them. We've seen that in the past. But again, if you want to participate for the gamification, that's what a lot of people have been waiting for quite a while. Again, 4 years ongoing here. Jimmy Jester agree with Blue about not really participating, but maybe a good spin-off renting Spark. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is it is ultimately a matter of completing a structure. The structure is complete, and the owner of that property, of that structure, happens to be in your faction, you're going to get some points. And if you are going to rent your Spark out to a faction to help finish a structure, a superstructure within time, then yeah, there's value to that, and they may be renting some Spark to do so. Again, whenever there is these type of gamifications, there are different play loops. There are different gamification loops, because your play loop or your gamification loop may be third-party Spark staking. Your gamification loop, and again, some people might say sale is not just a direct gamification, but your gamification loop might be that you participate and burn a pass, and then participate and had the opportunity to buy the map asset bundle, or buy the bundle, and you buy the faction bundle, and you get lucky and get the cart, and you say, whoop, my gamification level is I won because I got the cart, and now I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to get a profit off it, because of the rarity. There's going to be a ascribed value that's probably, as far as the market's concerned, probably more than the $13 it costs to buy the bundle. We'll have to see, but we didn't know that Upwind did just sold a cart for $45. So Upwind values that cart more than $13, more than likely. Maybe the market will as well. A couple more comments here. They really need to optimize map asset placement. This is going to be a pain, moving all the assets every off season. Yes, the moving one item, you grab it, you move it, you find the place, you set it there, you say, okay. Yeah, it takes a lot of work. If it was easier to collectively drag and drop, or to select and drop multiple assets, if there were ways to set rules that say, at the end of this season, this moves from here to here, that would be great for a lot of people. There's a seasonal placement where this season the item stays here, and this season the item is here. That could be fun for people, and make things a lot easier. That would be quality of life update. So agree with that concept there. Does this mean we can put our map assets on someone else's property? No. This sounds like this is just the same rule as your map assets. You can put your map assets on your own property. However, there is an incentive to buy new properties. If you're serious about the ongoing competition and what's going on, you may be buying properties in Tokyo now. You may be buying properties in Tokyo in strategic locations throughout the season. So, and the season's only 7 days. So this is an opportunity potentially to support the value or support the sales of properties in Tokyo, because in order to participate fully, you have to own properties in the right areas and to have the map assets put on those properties in order to affect the opposing players or the opposing faction. And if you want to win and you want to build a superstructure, well, you have to own a property that will fit the superstructure, which is a little larger than a apartment. So your little tiny narrow property isn't going to cut it. So maybe you buy a larger property because you want to do that superstructure, because you don't have a larger property in Tokyo. Now, I have one. I was holding on to it for a factory. Maybe a superstructure goes on it. We'll have to see what sugar's out when this contest comes up. But this is a little bit of revitalizing potentially Tokyo alongside this contest. I don't have many Tokyo properties. Put me at a disadvantage. Yes, WW Dog. It does put you at a disadvantage for not having many properties. And if you have plenty of properties, but you don't have structures, well, maybe you have a little bit of time between now and next week to get some structures built, because that is ultimately part of the game too, is you have to have the right structures, either an apartment or a Tokyo townhouse or a micro house, in order to put a ornament. No guarantees which ornament you're going to get. No guarantees you're going to get an ornament. But if you want the potential of decorating your structure, you have to have the structure built already. Congrats on Sheffy Cart win today. Oh, that's to me. Thank you. Thank you, Level Up Tech. Yes, participate in multiple groups and participate with all the broadcasters or whoever is putting on a giveaway, a contest. It's fun to be part of those shows. It's fun to be part of the audience, participating, and just being around and seeing what people have to say, opinions, news, and along the way, guests, of course. This is on the UpX podcast, so fun to be part of those audiences. And sometimes there's prizes. So that was kind of a fun win for today. Thank you, Level Up Tech. Sorry if I missed it, but do nodes, neighborhoods come into play regarding the competition? No. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you're in, with the exception of it being driven by proximity. So if there's an area, for example, a neighborhood that has properties of certain sizes, and that node, that area with properties of certain sizes, is fully built out, well, then that becomes a strong target, right? That is an area that is more likely to have map assets put on it, maybe, because you're going to use those map assets to either protect or to target structures that have structural ornaments on them. Because if you have the structures built, you can put the structure on it. If you have a neighborhood that has no structures built, and absolutely none, zero, you could be trying to build structures in that neighborhood, or that might be a neighborhood that gets ignored. And the nodes may be ones that get a lot of focus because there are apartments already built that could have a map so it could have a structure ornament go on. There are Tokyo townhouses that could have an ornament go on them. So just keep that in mind. Neighborhoods and nodes matter in this, in the fact that neighborhoods and nodes are the ones with structures, and structures, or having structures, matters in this competition, because that's where you're going to put your structure ornaments. So yes, they don't really matter, Drifter, but they do. Nodes are more likely to have completed structures, which makes them more valuable for competition areas. But yes, we are going to be locked into Tokyo, so keep that in mind. And then I do want to say one more thing is in Layer 1, people have been looking for gamification, whether it's this type of property buying and selling, which is a core attribute for a lot of people, and developing, buying, selling, developing. That's a core feature that people have wanted to see grow and be brought back into the center of what is Upland in contests and otherwise. This is something that there's an economy around the buying and selling. I got the wrong asset, I'm going to sell it to you. I got the rare cart. It's worth more to me as UpX or USD because I sold it to you than it is for utility. And ultimately, it's utility that is going to be renewable. It's utility that is going to be able to be used season after season after season. And yes, to Blue's point, when they put out new weapons, we have the cannons now. They're going to put out a new weapon. They're going to put a new defense out next season. It's going to stack. You're going to have depth. Maybe this is the cannon, and maybe next there is, I don't know, a spike trap, a hidden trap. Maybe next season there is a defensive item that's a net that works in a different way to block what is happening. The cards, we know they have a certain value in the way they are blocking points. Maybe there's something like the cards, or another season's cards function differently. They give different points. So it will be interesting to see Upland balance these values. The one thing that I caution, and the one thing that I hope Upland keeps in mind, is don't detriment the points on those assets over time. Don't make it, because it's 2 seasons old, a less valuable use case, because we really want to continue to see the values of assets to be supported long term. If you're taking away the points that these count for when they're older, you're instead seeing older assets become less and less valuable over time as they have less and less utility. The goal, or one of the goals in a NFT based game, is to have an NFT that I hold on to and I collect, and for one reason or another becomes more valuable, either because of its age or its exclusivity. Maybe there's 40 of this NFT 5 years ago, but now normal NFT classes are out of 5,000, and that can affect the value. But the big one for me that affects the value of an asset is utility. You can make old things more valuable by giving them more utility than the new stuff, because they're the grandfathered in one, but at least let them have the same utility. Don't scale back the utility because it's from last season, the season before. That's my caution. That's my hope. That's my desire here. And of course, I'm looking forward to it. Because when Upland talked about doing a property building game and having it available the next couple month or two, when they were talking about it in November and December, I was excited. And I'm very excited about this release. Looking forward to a beta season, which means for the future, bugs that come up now may be solved there. And it's limited. So it's going to be another one of those register and purchase. And if you register and you go to purchase and you don't get lucky, and you don't get it, you may not participate this time around. But there may also be secondary market action. Maybe people who buy passes decide to put them on secondary, and you may have that opportunity to purchase on secondary before the burn event. So for tonight, I want to say thank you so much for being here. Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. PT. We do get together. We are in the Upland Discord Cafe. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitter. On Tuesdays and on Fridays, we are in the Upland Layer 1 Plaza in San Francisco in the game of Upland. For tonight, thank you so much for being here. If you're in the Upland Cafe Discord, as the tradition goes, feel free to unmute your mics. The floor is yours.